Page 91. The second vowel is a construct, binyan, relative to the first, and is called shuruk. Behold the shuruk, and see it as a bridge, as an intermediary, like an explanation. It descends to the lowest pit and soars to the heights like an eagle, and binds the qualities. For this alone, its name is called a bond, kesher. Know, my brother, that the second vowel point is called shuruk, and is a construct relative to the point that is above it, both in position and quality. Know that the vowel point shuruk is in the center of the letter. This vowel point is analogous to the foundation of the intermediate world, which is the world of substance, and is called the world of the celestial spheres, galgalim. That is just as the point of the shuruk is the intermediate between the chaylem above it and the chirik below it, and is in the center of the letter, so to the foundation of the intermediate world, which is the world of the celestial spheres, is between the upper world of the angelic beings and the lowly world of man, and is the center of every sphere. This is so because no sphere can exist in the world without a central point. Moreover, the central point is the very foundation of the sphere and is the eye of the sphere. For the eye of the sphere is its very foundation, strength, and soul. In truth, the vowel point shuruk, which is the foundation of the celestial spheres, galgalim, attests that every sphere possesses 6 directions. That is, a sphere is round and thus must possess 6 directions. In other words, since a sphere has substance, chomer, and takes up space, it must possess the dimensions of up, down, and the 4 directions, front, back, right, and left. These are the 3 dimensions of depth, length, and width. With this in mind, understand what is clearly attested to by the fact that the central point is called shuruk, shin, reish, kuf, 300, 200, and 100, which is together 600. For the shuruk, 600 bonds, kesher, same letters as shuruk, same numeric, 600. The 6, sheish, 300 and 300, which is equal to 600. Shin and shin, 600. So the sheish, which is 6 directions, sheish is 6 directions of the perimeter of the sphere to the foundation at its center, which is the shuruk, 600, 300, 200, and 100. Shin, reish, kuf, 600. And shuruk. Now the term bond, kesher, shares the same letters as shuruk and indicates that it is caught in the thicket by its thorns, in that it is bound between the upper beings and the lower beings. That is, it is from the power of those who possess 6 that the beings who possess 6 dimensions are moved, and move the 6 directions below them. Now the first thing to contemplate is that the shuruk is the intermediary between the chaylem, which is above, and the chirik, which is below. Likewise, contemplate that the chaylem is a singular point above, the chirik is a singular point below, and the shuruk is a singular point in the middle. Know, however, that although all 3 are singular points, not all points are equal, just as not all units of 1 are equal. For as you can see, the chaylem is a singular point above everything, and thus is solitary, whereas the quality of both the shuruk and the chirik is that they are below and are thus complete constructs, binyan, relative to the chaylem that rides over them. In contrast, the chaylem is above all the people from his shoulders and up, and is thus the transcendent foundation that is above everything. The shuruk, on the other hand, is below the chaylem, and thus is an intermediate foundation at the center of the celestial spheres, whereas the foundational point of the chirik descends down to earth. We therefore see that the level of gradation is that in the position and quality of the vowel points, the one that is appropriately above is above, and the one that is appropriately below is below. Therefore, when considering the relationship between these 3 vowel points, we find that only the upper point is a foundation, whereas the shuruk and chirik are only constructs, binyan, that cannot compare to it. However, when we consider each individually, each one is considered to be a foundation, yesod, for its particular world. Nonetheless, when they are considered in relation to each other, only the cholem is a yesod, foundation, and the lower two are only constructs, binyan. We thus understand that not all points are equal. In other words, there could be a point that is foundational in relation to what is below it, but is a construct in relation to what is above it. For example, the world of the celestial spheres, Galgalim, is above in relation to us, but is lowly in relation to the angelic world of intellect. In the same manner, it is understood that not all units of one are equal. For example, we know that the creator of all, Hashem, blessed is he and blessed is his name, is called one, and yet every individual creature is also called one. However, amongst created beings, something that is called one consists of many components, each of which is also called one. By way of example, one man is indeed one man, nonetheless he is composed of skin, veins, bones, flesh, blood, and various limbs and organs, etc. Thus, his oneness cannot be equated to the oneness of a celestial sphere that is composed of one simple substance, chomer, even though the celestial sphere, Galgal, is itself composed of various things such as form, tsura, substance, chomer, and size. Footnote number 94. That is, the sun and all the stars are made up of one substance, fire, even though they are all composed of various things such as their form, which is spherical, the makeup of their substance of the various elements in the universe, and their size, which is how much space they take up within the 3 dimensions of depth, length, and width, those being the 6 directions, up, down, front, back, and left. Likewise, we cannot equate the oneness of the celestial sphere, Galgal, to the oneness of a single angel, which is pure and simple intellect, Sechel Pashut, for an angel does not possess substance, Chomer, whatsoever, but is form, Tsura, alone, and takes up no space. Nevertheless, an angelic being is also made up of several units and is not truly one, in that it possesses both form, tsura, and the novelty of existence, chidush. Thus, the angelic being cannot be compared to the true one, Hashem, blessed is he and blessed is his name, who cannot be contained by any form whatsoever, and is truly one and alone in his intrinsic being and unlimited existence. Thus, although they are all called by the term one, there is an infinite gap between them. The very same matter holds true of the vowel points. That is, although the chirik is a solitary point, it nonetheless has 2 riders that ride upon it, and thus in relation to them it is a complete composite, harkava. The 2 vowels that are always above the chirik are the shuruk and the cholim, and the cholim is always above both the shuruk and the chirik. This being the case, the cholim alone is truly a foundation yesod, whereas the shuruk and chirik are complete constructs, binyan. Now, at times, the shuruk is expressed as 3 dots, one above the other. This attests to the fact that it is bound between the upper and the lower. However, because it is the intermediate point, the shuruk is also expressed as a singular central point. Thus, when you see the shuruk expressed as 3 points, realize that this indicates that the shuruk is bound to the cholim above it and to the chirik below it. Additionally, know that the 3 points of the shuruk, one above the other, are similar in form to a diagonal letter Vav, 6, which is likewise attested to by its name, Shuruk, 600, which equals the word 6, Sheish. With the above in mind, understand that the matter of the Shuruk is drawn from the reality of the Cholim above it, and in turn draws power to the Chirik below it. This too follows the order of the upper world Elyon, the intermediate world Tichon, and the lower world Tachton. That is, the intermediate world Tichon draws power from the upper world Elyon, and the lower world Tachton draws power from the intermediate world Tichon. As we see, the world of angelic beings, the world of the celestial spheres, and the world of the lowly beings draw power one from the other in descending order. For example, the world of angelic beings is a world of form only, tsura, from which power is drawn to the world of the celestial spheres, Galgalim, to sustain its substance, chomer, because it is impossible for substance, chomer, to exist without form, tsura. Likewise, the lowly world consists of composition, harkava, substance, chomer, and form, tsura. This is because it receives the power of substance, chomer, and the power of form, tsura, from the intermediate and upper worlds, one being the world of substance, chomer, and the other being the world of form, tsura. Contemplate this, and the truth will become clear that the shuruk is bound between the upper beings and the lower beings, and draws from the upper beings to the lower beings, just as the world of the celestial spheres, Galgalim, is bound between the intellects, sichlium, and the composite beings, merkavim, and draws power down from the intellects, sichlium, to the composite beings, merkavim. This is why the intermediate vowel point, called shuruk, shares the same letters as the word bond, kesher, for it is bound to the cholim above it, and it is bound and gives power to the chirik below it, which is called the lower millstone. Let's just see footnote here, 95 and 96. The 3 points form a diagonal line rather than a vertical line to indicate that though the lower two are only constructs relative to the chaylim, nonetheless individually they each are foundations for what is appropriate to them. That is, the chaylim is the foundation of the world of intellect that possesses form only. The shuruk is the foundation of the world of the celestial spheres that possess form and substance, and the chirik is the foundation of the lowly world that possess form, substance, and composition. In other words, the chaylim is in front, the shuruk is in the middle, whereas the chirik is behind. Moreover, the word shuruk possesses 6 points, equaling the letter vav. 6 points. Okay. In the same manner, we find that the order of motion of the celestial spheres, galgalim, is that they are intermediaries that are bound to the upper angelic beings, are moved by them, and derive their power from them. In the same manner, the lower beings are bound to the celestial spheres, galgalim, are moved by them, and derive their power from them. With this in mind, contemplate the form of the shuruk, which consists of 3 points, one above the other, and attest that the shuruk is bound above and bound below. The form of the shuruk itself attests to the 3 levels, one above the other, for in the form of the shuruk we find these 3 points according to their station and form, with the chaylim above, the shuruk in the middle, and the chirik below. This is analogous to the qualities of the 3 worlds, in that the angelic intellects, sichliim, are above, the celestial spheres, galgalim, are in the middle, and the composite beings, merkavim, are below, as in the verse, for there is one higher than high who watches, and there are high ones above them. Thus, with everything we have awakened to in mind, it is clear that the shuruk is the intermediate vowel point corresponding to the intermediate world. Now, in the same way, I realize that the comprehension of the celestial spheres, galgalim, is also on the intermediate level. That is, the comprehension and knowledge of the celestial spheres, galgalim, is less than the knowledge of the angelic beings, but is greater than the knowledge of man. Thus, their grasp is intermediate according to their status and quality. Now, our ability to grasp these matters is due to the fact that the shuruk is tied to 3 points, just as the celestial spheres, galgalim, are tied to 3 worlds. Nevertheless, ultimately, the shuruk is represented by a single point, since we are dealing here with the foundations, yisodos, of motion, and as known as it is inappropriate to define a foundation, yisod, as anything more than one, for the aspect of 2 is already a construct. This is why ultimately we state that the shuruk is a singular central point that indicates the foundation of the motion of the intermediate world. For in the intermediate world, the point which is the cause of its motion is at its center. Nevertheless, the intermediate world is below the upper world, and thus the shuruk that represents it is below the chaylim, which represents the foundation of the world of intellect. Thus, relative to the chaylim, the shuruk must satisfy itself with its name, which indicates that it is a mere construct, binyan, and not a foundation, yisod. For as explained, the term bonding, kasher, indicates that the bonding of 2 things, which is a complete construct, binyan. Based on all the above, contemplate that though the shuruk is a foundational point, it is not above and not below, but is rather in the center of the letter, just as the point is in the center of the sphere, galgal. Likewise, the shuruk indicates that the celestial spheres, galgalim, are bound to the upper motion. You should thus contemplate the matters to which we have awakened you, and you will discover that the shuruk attests to the matter of bonding, kasher, in 3 ways. That is, it attests to the 6 directions from every angle and corresponds to the letter vav, 6, in the following 3 manners. Firstly, note that the form of the shuruk is 3 points that are similar to the form of the letter vav, 6. Secondly, the numerical value of shuruk, shin resh kuf, 600, is equivalent to the word sheish, shin 600, which means 6. Thirdly, the word shuruk has 6 possible permutations as follows: shin resh kuf, shin kish kuf resh kuf shin resh shin kuf, kuf shin resh kuf resh shin. Therefore, contemplate the fact that the shuruk cannot escape the matter of 6, whether in its numerical value or the number of its permutations. Examine it from every angle and find it to be so. Thus, all these matters clearly attest that the intermediate world, which corresponds to the shuruk, possesses 6 directions, all of which are tied to the shuruk. Thus, the shuruk clearly attests to the world of the celestial spheres, galgalim, in all its characteristics. Furthermore, it is understood that the shuruk is a singular point at the center of the letter, as is logically appropriate for it. This being the case, based on all the above explanations, it is understood that the foundation is entirely dependent on the cholim, and that relative to it, all else is construct, binyan. That is, although these other two vowels are also singular points, nonetheless, relative to them, the cholim is the only true singular point and is like the soul of these souls. All in all, from all the above, you should be able to contemplate and realize that the shuruk is the intermediate between the intellect and the sensory. Now that we have adequately hinted at the matter of the shuruk, so that every intelligent being who is versed in the received knowledge, Kabbalah, should understand, we shall continue to explain the remaining matters with the help of Hashem, blessed is He. So we're on page 101, and we will stop here. Thank you.